Legislators are finalizing their version of the state budget this week. Republicans want more than $3 billion in income and property tax cuts. They're also proposing an additional $128 million in funding to K-12 schools. That's less than what the governor proposed. They also allotted less money than the governor wanted towards state building projects and broadband expansion. Wisconsin's land stewardship program would also be extended 4 years instead of 10. And at its core, the budget is a partisan battle over policy, and that's playing out on the Assembly floor today. Naomi Coles joins us now with what to expect. Naomi?
Every 2 years, the state legislature does some of its most significant work. Today and tomorrow, the Assembly and Senate are debating, and they're set to approve the biennial budget. Now, Republicans are making tax cuts a headline, while Democrats say that this budget leaves education chronically underfunded.
By far the biggest thing that the legislature does every 2 years.
That today is usually one of the most exciting days of the session.
The latest version of the budget invests just enough from a surplus to protect billions in federal aid to schools.
Republicans focused on using the surplus in a way that meets the bare minimum federal requirements.
We look for ways to give that money back to the hardworking taxpayers of Wisconsin.
But Democrats say there's not nearly enough new money for education, since much of it is just replacing money that schools would otherwise lose through proposed property tax cuts.
When we look at the actual investments made in education, this budget is among the worst of the last decade.
The big question mark is whether the governor will allow billions in new income and property tax cuts to go through, which is how Republicans have decided to use $4.4 billion in unexpected extra funds.
Luckily in Wisconsin, we are able to return real dollars on a permanent basis so that people can use those to make decisions for their own families as opposed to depending on government.
It's people making more than $100,000 a year that would see most of the cuts. So if you make between $100,000 and $125,000 a year, you'll get about $1,000 in savings. But if you make between $40,000 and $50,000 a year, only a $115 annual savings. According to census data, the median household income statewide is just under $62,000. Now, debate over the budget is still ongoing on the floor. It's likely to continue for hours into night, but there's really been no significant changes today. The most significant is one that would make it a little bit harder for the governor to veto parts of the budget. Democrats did introduce some amendments earlier this afternoon, but they all failed in vote.